The cost of IT in business can be staggering. From hardware and software expenses to services like internet and phone, you don't need to spend a fortune on IT to succeed. If your organization spends more than $500 monthly on any service, or you're considering signing a long-term contract, IT Enabled can help you manage your technology and minimize your costs. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation. IT Enabled, we're here to help.
Bonnie, we are so honored to have you on our podcast. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for letting me come.
Absolutely. So Miss Bonnie was recently recognized as our chamber champion at our Celebrate Business Awards. And I wish that we had been recording your face when your name was called out, because I don't think she was expecting it.
It was crying with tears. I can tell you right now. I just, I never expected that.
Well, it was so fun. We always have more fun, I think, planning the whole Celebrate Business than the actual night of it, because it's so fun to all the team gets together and we talk about, we look at all of the different nomination forms that have come in, except that the chamber champion is one that we as an internal team actually decide on who we want. And there was absolutely no question about who it should be this year.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was quite an honor for me. I felt very honored. Very honored.
You do so much for us at the chamber, and we just appreciate you. Miss Bonnie is probably our biggest diplomat cheerleader that we have for the entire community.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I love it. I love being a part of the chamber. I do.
We appreciate it.
You've been very consistent with the chamber for many years. I remember when I first started getting involved, you were in the diplomats, and it's just as far back as I can think of the chamber, I can always remember you being here and a part of things. So they appreciate that a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So let's talk about Music World.
Okay.
So, I mean, for those of you who know Miss Bonnie, you know her in her little red car at Music World. Yeah. I still look for your car every time I drive by it, and I'm like, yep, she's there. So Miss Bonnie is the owner of Music World. Where did your love of music come from?
To be honest with you, I was 4 years old.
Okay.
And living in New York, that's where I was born. And my brother was able to take piano lessons because he was 2.5 years older. And so they let him take piano lessons, and I just went berserk. I just had my hands behind his neck, wringing my hands back and forth. I want to do it. I can do it. I can do it. And they finally got tired of me pestering him, and so they took me to the piano teacher, and she said, "Oh, well, we'll play some games. She's 4. We'll take care of it." Well, yeah. She did, and I was able to play, and I started back when I was 4 in New York, and it all blossomed from there because every place we moved, I definitely had lessons, and then it got to the point where I could teach when I started college.
Oh, wow.
I could teach piano, and I did all the private teaching in your home, as you usually do, but I was blessed to have the opportunity to get a building, and make that part of my life, and it still is today. This is 40 years, wow. 40 years, and we've watched them come and go. You've seen all the different music stores that have just folded, and that's sad to me, because we've got something to offer, but that's how it all started.
At the age of 4.
At the age of 4.
You were a child prodigy.
And I drove everybody crazy. I did. I would dance and sing.
What brought you to Texas from New York?
From New York. Now, I had a couple of stops in between.
Where were those stops?
Those
Tell
stops
us the story
were
to getting to Texas.
San Francisco, California, where I finished the other half of my education.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I wanted to go to a college that was a small Baptist college.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured I'd look it up, and I looked up these, and they came to 3 or 4 different ones. And one of them was Wayland Baptist College, and one of them, of course, was the big one, which I sent off my applications to 2 or 3. And when they all came back okay, I chose the smallest one. And it was in Plainview, Texas. And my parents said, "You're going where?" And they went away with me. They said that was good. And so I had a scholarship, musical scholarship. And funny thing about that scholarship, though, I always hate to tell this story, but I got there and they had not told me you need to have 2 Chopin and 1 Schubert. You know, they always do that when you get scholarships. They didn't tell me any of that. So when I got there to give them my song for scholarship, I played George Gershwin. And I played Someone to Watch Over Me.
I love that.
My favorite song. And they stopped me after a couple of notes and said, that's wonderful. We got the scholarship for you, but you won't be playing much of that up here. And I thought, I'm in the wrong place.
Oh, no.
You know, but I did all my practice runs. We had to practice an hour every morning. Mine was from 7 to 8. And they'd come check on you from time to time. So you had to be careful what you were playing.
Right.
Get your music in that, that you're supposed to be playing.
Yeah.
But anyway, I survived it, got out. I changed my major from music to psychology.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
I know. But it was because they were so demanding of those of us that were musicians.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime somebody in a singing class, their person didn't show up to accompany them. Mm. And so they could call on any of us that had scholarships and were available, and you were called on much too often and taken out of your own whatever you needed to do. And I had to have a job, and but I changed it. I'm happy because, hey, psychology really works sometimes. I've had the mothers of some kids say, she is cheaper than a psychologist. And, I can't remember her name now, but she's the daughter and kids are still here, but the mom died and the dad died. And they were very well known at First Christian Church over there. Yeah. But anyway, it was that was how that part got started. And then we needed music. We needed the music for the piano teachers. And we had a pretty good amount of piano teachers at that time. Now we don't have as many. People just have stopped. And during that time, I decided it was time to get music and not have to go to Houston all the time. So anyway, we had a little store right next to the Pines when the Pines was demolished terribly, terribly bad. And Josephine Hughes had bought the Pines. And so she let us have that little quarter building. I mean, so small. So
you were
small.
downtown originally?
Downtown
I didn't know
originally.
that.
That was
Is
my
that
first
building,
space.
Was that where the shoe store used to be next to the Pines?
Like
where the big window is?
There's a big window there, but I don't remember the shoe store.
Is it now part of the theater?
It's part of the theater.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
the
the
side
alley.
window.
It's
Oh,
right
interesting.
next to the alley.
Yeah,
Right
it's
next
the
to
side
the
window.
alley. And the
Oh, so when you're
bathroom
facing it to the left.
the
So that
left.
window right next to the alley.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Wow, that was a small spot.
It was very small.
Okay.
And then she decided she wanted a beauty shop in there. So we had to find a place to move in 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
So I found a place on Frank Street. And it was a nice little building. A lady had just vacated it. She was having yarns. She had all kinds of yarns in there. And so we were able to rent that. And the hospital owned that. Well, you give it a couple of years, and the hospital wanted the building. And they
Right.
put a little lab in there. If you'll remember the lab, it's still there. And I'm not. So we had a short time to move. So I found the land I wanted.
I was going to say, and you built.
Right on John Reddit. Found the land I wanted and built it. And it was the neatest thing because I was able to design everything I wanted.
Right.
And we were carrying a lot of pianos at the time. And we had mirrors put up on one complete wall where I had the pianos displayed. And it was so special. It
Yeah.
really was. And it was just what I wanted. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then during some other incidents that happened after that, it was a divorce situation. And so I got the business, but not the building.
Yeah.
So I had to start over. And so I said, I still want it on the loop. I've got to be there. And so 2 blocks down, a dentist had a little piece of property, I thought. And it is. To me, it is. But it's about the same as what I had.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, started again, got it built. I'm not going anywhere now.
Yeah.
I'm beyond that. At this point, I have reached my limit. Don't anybody tell me to move. It's my land. It's my store. So,
That's awesome.
and my red car sits out there.
It sits out there all the time.
I
It says
tell
Miss
people
Bond.
when they say, how will I know when you're there if I need to see you? And I said, if my red car's there, I'm there.
That's right.
So that's my motto there.
That's a great story. I grew up. I heard you talking earlier that you used to take piano.
I did.
Yeah, I did too. I was the worst piano student
She was a
ever
dropout.
known to man.
I
I
was,
dropped out.
Yeah, I did too. I did not make
Two
My
dropouts.
I'm between two. This is not between two thorns. It's the
Dropouts.
I tried. I took
Oh.
lessons with Miss Bonnie when I was about 16, and I love music and I play other instruments. I play the guitar and the bass and the drums, and I really, really wanted the piano so bad. And so I started taking lessons with you, and I hurt my hand in high school, so I can't hold up 3 fingers on this hand. And if you're watching, I'm holding up my left hand, and my ring finger doesn't hold up all the way, and I couldn't move this finger enough to play with my left hand. So I'm okay with my right hand, but I couldn't make both of them do it at the same time. So I sadly had to drop out of your piano class.
I just
but
didn't practice.
You did a great job. Yeah, that was probably a lot of it too.
She wanted
I
to
was
sing all
horrible.
the time.
I wanted to sing and dance,
Oh.
and sitting down to practice piano was the most boring thing that could happen to me.
I know.
But I love the piano and
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it, and and today I wish that I still played.
I do too. I wish I would have just struggled through it and made it work, because
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful instrument. And I had a really hard time as a kid where, so as soon as I learned to play the drums, it kind of took over everything. Like that became my favorite instrument,
boy, yeah.
because I had a hard time with the piano because there's a lot of theory that you have to learn at first and scales and stuff like that. And to me, that didn't feel like playing the piano. But when I would play the drums, even if I was just practicing, I felt like I was playing the drums, right? There was there was a lot of theory and stuff too, but I wish I would have stuck with that. It's such a beautiful, beautiful instrument. And I loved hearing that story. I had no idea you were downtown and all over the place.
Shifted around. That's right.
How did you come to start teaching music? So, which I think if you look back, the psychology thing might have been one of the best decisions ever for what you would eventually end up doing, because there's a lot of teaching that psychology helps a lot.
Anytime you go to a church
Mm-hmm.
and you start playing the piano for the church, you have a lot of parents bringing their children up to you saying,
Yes.
would you teach my child?
Yes.
Would you teach my child? So that was back when I was 13 years old. They wanted me to teach their child. Well, I took a few little friends there to try to help them, but it was mostly when I started college, and then I just had time and I started teaching.
Well, that was a good way to earn money too.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. And it just, I tell my kids now, what did I have one child say? My mother pays you to put up with me, because they were being a little bit spoiled. And I said, they don't pay me enough to put up with you. So I came right out and told them. So anyway, but I said, no, that's not, and that's not the main thing. That's not it. You've got to get those kids. And they love
that.
it. I've got adults.
I was going to ask that. Do you have adults that come to learn now?
Oh, yes.
Really?
I have a lot of adults.
Interesting.
Maybe one of these days I'll have time to go back.
I was
Yeah.
hoping she would.
Yeah.
I can sing, I can speak, I can dance in front of thousands of people, but you make me have to perform at a piano recital in front of 10 people, and I'm going to throw up
It's
before
a
I
lot.
walk out there.
I won't make you. I
Oh, it was
won't
horrible.
make you play in the recital.
I hated
promise.
piano recitals.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, I used to just get
I hate 'em.
sick
I hate
as
'em.
ever. Oh, mm-mm.
So you do have some adults that come and
I
take,
have a lot of adults.
that take piano
Yes, I take
classes.
them in the morning.
Do you know? So I've heard that it's easier to learn an instrument when you're a kid. Like, I guess when you're a kid, our brains are just a lot more spongy. Is it harder to learn as an adult?
No,
You don't think so? Okay.
I don't think so. And
Wow.
I think it's harder now to learn as a kid, because every one of them that comes in says, well, I don't have time to practice.
Yeah.
Mm,
And they'll give you the whole list of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
that's interesting.
And they most of the time they're probably right. But I say, how much time do you spend on your phone? How much time do you spend on your
True.
little games? And I said, I just want equal time. That's all.
Yeah.
Give me equal time, and you'll learn. I promise you'll learn.
Interesting. So the adults pick it up then?
They
This
pick
is-
it up. I've got an adult book that I just love, that I put them through. And I tell them, I said, it's going to be a little bit harder, but you're going to climb the hill quicker, and you're going to be able to play songs by the end of your third book.
Interesting.
You'll be able to really have some good songs under your belt. And they're fun songs. And they're popular songs. They're whatever you want.
Huh. I love that.
That is great.
We were talking, Miss Bonnie and I, before we started recording, that I'm envious, I guess, of the kids learning music now. So when I was learning to play the guitar and the bass and everything else, if I wanted to learn a song, I had to go to a music store and hope that that artist had a songbook in that store that had the sheet music in it that I could learn. And if they didn't, I just had to sit there and try to figure it out by ear, much to my dismay a lot of times, or find somebody who knew how to play it that could show me how to play. And now these kids, if you want to learn a song, it's 3 seconds away. You can Google it and find the music to it and watch a video of someone showing you how to play it. But there was something about having, so I had someone when I was 11, when the bass was the first thing I learned to play, and we were in the church, and I was really interested in learning to play the bass. And the guy that played there, every Saturday morning, I don't know how he put up with me. Every Saturday morning, he would let me meet. I would come to his house at 7 o'clock, and he would play the acoustic guitar, and he would teach me how to read the music, and we would play along to whatever they had played or whatever they were going to play the next Sunday, so that I would learn the music. And I was able to come to him when I wanted to learn songs. And so internet was a thing, but there weren't the resources that people have now. But having someone teach you and be able to show you what you're doing wrong was so different than just being able to look it up online and watch a video. And I've made it a career out of looking up videos online and learning how to do things. So,
Different things,
but having someone there to kind of hold your hand, it makes things so much easier. And I think there's a lot to be said of that.
You're right.
Yeah.
How has the internet changed your business, Miss Bonnie?
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
I feel like it has quite a bit, because people still go to the internet. They go to Amazon.
Yeah.
They go to eBay. They go anywhere
To buy instruments.
to get a treat, just to think, okay, I might be able to save $1 or $2.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I know you
instruments
still
too.
sell sheet music. You still sell the books.
Mm-hmm. We do.
And then it used to, back in the day when there were tapes, you would come to Miss Bonnie's to buy the karaoke
All those
tapes that I used to sing with, you know, when I was performing stuff. Do you still have tracks?
We still have We still have all the accompaniment tracks. We've got over 2,200 of the accompaniment tracks of the Christian market.
Yep.
We've got those all the time, and that's we've got regular customers for that.
That's
you know.
fantastic.
So that's a
I'm
good
glad
thing.
to know that's still around.
Yeah, me too.
That's great.
So for people who may not be familiar, I think we both had been in the facility and learned, so I think we kind of assumed everyone knows what it is. What all do you offer there? What can people come to Music World when your little red car is sitting out front? What can they expect when they come inside? What can you learn? What type of classes do you offer?
We've got 3 piano teachers. We've got a violin teacher who teaches all the strings, the cello, the stand-up bass, violin. And then we've got a man who teaches guitar and drums.
That's amazing.
And so
pretty much any instrument you want to learn, you can come to Music World.
That we can't teach the school instruments.
Gotcha.
You know, we leave that to the school. We don't want to mess them up.
But you sell instruments as well.
Yes, we have that rent-to-own program for the instruments, for the school instruments.
How does that work?
Tell us about that.
Well, it's very, very. It's much more reasonable than the ones they bring to the school, and try to make people pay such a big amount. We work with them. And I've got quite a few of those, and that's good.
That's amazing.
I love that.
So if someone wants to learn to play the trumpet in the school band, they can come to you.
They can come to us and rent a trumpet, and for a small amount that covers all their maintenance and repair that you'd ever have on it.
That's awesome.
So I mean, you can't beat that.
No, that's great.
Not at all.
That's
and
wonderful.
do you still sell pianos and keyboards?
I have a lot of used pianos right now. The last one that was real, we sold to a lady who gave it to the Salvation Army.
Okay.
And
awesome.
that was a very nice new piano.
Nice.
And then we have one at my church. So those are new, but they're so much more expensive now than they were. They were expensive then, but they're just so high. It's hard for me to put a lot of money into it.
Right.
With the way the economy goes, I can't. I've got to be careful.
They take up a lot of space too. They're not.
Oh, they
they're
take up a
not
lot of space.
savers.
They take up a lot thought it was pretty.
They've always been heirlooms. Someone would buy the piano and then it kind of gets passed down, and very difficultly moved from place to place. And we had a piano that was in our family forever, and we moved a ton when I was a kid. And I remember moving that piano was a pain every single time we moved, but it went with us for many years.
That's
Yes, I put the little pieces of tape on it and wrote the keys for each key, and that's where I learned I would play for Christmas as much as I could, and that was the limit of what I was able to do, but it was fun. Yeah. Yeah. That's not the way to learn the piano, by the way. Yes.
So I know
awesome.
throughout your travels that you have met some really famous people. Tell us about that.
Well, probably, of course, I met so many because of my dad being a photographer and being in the Coast Guard, and he had a lot of pull everywhere we went, especially in New York. So we got to meet a lot of people that way. But for personally, that I actually walked up to this person, it was Anthony Berger, who was the piano player for the Gaithers.
Oh, wow.
And did all of their home piano playing. He died at a very early age, in his mid-40s, early 40s. Oh, wow. And but his hands, I have never seen hands fly like his did. And I sat right at a table eating at one of our meetings in Nashville, and his little fingers were shorter than mine. I mean, mine aren't very long, and his fingers were just flying, just going crazy. And he hardly ever looked at the piano or never music. And he'd look over at the people, and smile. But he was tremendous. And so after it was over, he noticed me sitting there watching him, and he said, do you know my works? And I said, absolutely. I've got every one of your books. And
that's awesome.
And I did, and all your albums. And I said, but I want to know something. Can I look at your hands? And I said, do you only have 5 fingers on each hand? Yeah. So but that was a thrill for me.
Yeah, that's a great memory.
It was.
I always get tickled when because Brent plays the piano, and I know that something's bothering Brent, my husband, when he sits down to play late at night. That's when I know something's worrying him. And so he'll sit and play most of the time after Annalee has gone to bed, and at first I used to be like, don't wake her up. And I thought, no, she needs to hear her daddy play the piano from time to time. But he says when he hears somebody play, I can hear him say it in my head right now, if I could play like that, I would never leave the house. And I'm like, no, you'd be leaving the house to go play the piano somewhere, to do that. So, yeah.
It's got such an interesting connection to it. It's like I'll go through times in my life where I'll realize something's not right, and it's usually because I've gotten away from music. It's got such a strong connection to things like that, and it's always been such an important part of my life, and I think of everyone's life.
Yeah,
it's kind of, I think there's probably something wrong with you if it's not a part of your life in some way, right? Whether you're enjoying it or not. So we said earlier on that you've been just so foundational in your support for the Chamber, and it goes way back. Do you have any highlights of your time with the Chamber?
Oh my. Well, the first highlight I would have would be I was the second person to get it was called the Trailblazers at that time instead of the Diplomat, the Trailblazer of the Year. I got awarded with that. This on number 2. And when you get that award, you can't repeat it. They don't give it to you again just because you're good.
That was 15 years ago, I think.
Well, it was 2001.
Okay. Yeah.
2001. And
that still feels like 15 years to me.
Yeah, it does.
And I had a lot of plaques that they gave at the time. They'd give plaques, or they'd give you actual frames with something in there, giving you Diplomat of the Quarter is what we went to instead of the year.
Okay.
And I've got a bunch of those on the floor, and I've got them down there. Somebody said, why don't you put them up on the wall? And I said, well, I guess because I never found the spot. I don't know.
Too many of them.
Anyway, yeah, there really was. But it's those are all interesting. But the last one, the one that I had this last month in November, was probably the best. That's the best.
Well,
because that said more.
You are a champion.
Just
you are our champion. You go out and you when somebody new comes to the Chamber and a new investor gets plugged in, you're one of the first ones to greet them and to welcome them. And we count on you to know that Miss Bonnie's going to always greet and welcome people and make everybody feel welcome here. And we just appreciate you so much for all that you do for us.
Thank you. I hope to be with you a little bit longer.
We hope so too.
We hope so
A
too.
little bit longer.
We hope so too.
Yeah, you welcomed me twice. Once when I joined the chamber on behalf of an employer, and then once on my own. And I remember you being there at both of those. I appreciate that. That's been awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Where can people find you if someone wants to learn to play the piano or an instrument, or their kids want to learn? How do they? Where's that little red car parked that they can go find you?
The red car is parked right at Music World, right on the loop, right where Copeland intersects the loop. We're just not very far from St. Cyprian's Church, not very far from the hospitals. It's on that side of the loop.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, and we're open. We do have a waiting list sometimes, but right now is a good time because it's a new year started. So
Awesome.
we got room.
If that's your New Year's resolution, if you want to get involved with that, please go check out Miss Bonnie and make it longer than Tara and I did.
That's
in the
right.
piano program.
I made it 7 years,
Oh, I didn't even make it that long. No, I didn't make it that long.
but make it longer than me.
Yes.
Make your 7 years actually count.
Right.
There you go. There you go.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. We
Thank
appreciate you
you.
coming on the show and chatting with us. And thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Again, this week, we appreciate your support while we celebrate some of the award winners that have happened over this past year. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.